This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and welcome back in, or good afternoon, wherever you happen to be tuning in from today. Let me tell you, we're getting set for a 5 p.m. puck drop between the Oilers and those Toronto Maple Leafs. Oh yeah, we're back at it with the Leafs now for a 3-game set. I mean, running out of real estate as to when we'll be able to get things going here down the stretch against the Leafs, because this 3-game leaves us with, 2 games left against the Leafs in what's going to be a very important last 2 games, I'm sure, against the Leafs. But this is the primary focus for the next several days, is the Oilers, the Leafs, toe-to-toe in a baseball series. 3 games at home for the Oilers in what could potentially not make or break the season. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this series, even if the Oilers go 0 for 3, is not going to make or break the season. What I'm going to tell you is it probably and should make or break first place in the North Division at current. And what I mean by at current is the fact of, yes, both teams, depending who wins the majority of the games or all the games, could very well take first place and fall off to somebody else. But at current, between these two teams, it could very well decide which of these two teams takes first place and gets to run with it for the rest of the season against each other, more or less. I mean, yeah, you might get a Winnipeg that gets hot and challenges for first against whoever's in first, but between these two teams, it's going to be a big-time battle of first place for the next 3 games, and then that'll decide who gets the mantle to run with for the time being at current. So stay tuned. It's going to be a long week here in Oilers land. I promise you that. Despite all the lead up, we still got more of this to go. All that lead up. What is that lead up? Tyson, you're doing a pregame here. We don't have to pregame the week. We have to pregame the games against the Leafs tonight. Well, let me tell you, Auston Matthews is out of the lineup for the Oilers. Hello. For the Toronto Maple Leafs this evening. Mr. Auston Matthews out with, I believe, a wrist injury. Skated this morning. Isn't good to go, according to Sheldon Keefe. So that means Mike Smith's night gets a little bit easier in net for the Edmonton Oilers. And oh, by the way, you want to talk about not having bad goals scored against you. Take out Jack Campbell, who's on LTIR. Take out Auston Matthews. And the Oilers versus Leafs matchup gets a whole lot more interesting, doesn't it? Especially if you are still blaming Zach Kassian for that bad goal against. I think there are still people out there, and I'm just making a point of it, noting it, that we have not forgotten about that, no matter which side of the coin you're on that one. All right, so moving forward, Oilers, Leafs, Mike Smith versus, I believe, Jack Campbell in net this evening is what I read on Twitter. Let me go double check that for you, because I don't want to say I missed something and then not have it. So interesting facts about the Predators available on Twitter as well. But right now, as it gets going, Mike Smith will be the one to start for the Oilers, and I guess I can talk about that as we get going. Yeah, it's Campbell versus Smith, according to Jack Michaels. Didn't have to wait that long, did we? We didn't. Okay, Campbell versus Mike Smith. Mr. Mike Smith off the shutout against Vancouver after barely surviving a first period that could have been either 4-0 Oilers or 4-0 Canucks in the last game against the Canucks. We now find ourselves going right back to the same goaltender that gave us a blank sheet against the Canucks, and how about 2 straight wins against the Canucks? And I think this is really just one of those things of, I'm not saying favoritism, but it's one of those situations where the locker room more so dictates who starts, right? We've heard all that run-up and stuff about Mike Smith after the 3-goal first period against the Canucks in Game 1 the other day, right? Is how Mike Smith owned it. He went in the locker room and said, yeah, you know what? This is on me, but you guys got to get your poop in a group too. And we're not going to do this only if I do what I need to do. We need to do this as a group. And so that's the gist of what I've understood he said in the locker room in that first period intermission. And ever since, you've seen the Oilers go out there and not give up a goal. In the past 5 periods of hockey, the Oilers have not given up a goal since Mike Smith owned that first period against the Canucks. And, of course, went in there and, from everything indicating coming out of the locker room, said, I need to be better, you guys need to be better, we need to be better, plain and simple. And that looks like the case we've gotten out of the Oilers since then. A blank sheet through 5 periods. How often do the Oilers ride 5 periods of shutout hockey, potentially into a 6th one tonight? And that is why exactly I would see Mike Smith getting the start tonight over Mikko Koskinen is simply, Dave Tippett can explain it all he wants, but Dave Tippett's going to give you the media answer, so there's no field day. I'm going to give you the fact of the locker room wants to play for Smith right now. The locker room does not want to play for Mikko Koskinen. And that's not saying Mikko Koskinen doesn't deserve to play, doesn't have the confidence of the locker room. I'm just saying, straight up, right now, the locker room feels they've got swagger when Smith's in net, and that's not a bad thing, right? I theorized this with a buddy last night on the drive home, is the fact of, hey, like, look at this. If we get to ride a hot Mike Smith all the way to the playoffs, and then have a rested and ready to go Mikko Koskinen, who is capable of holding the Oilers in as many, if not more games than Mike Smith is late in the season. And, well, don't forget, more intense games, playoff games. Well, you know what? I think we're going to be okay. I think. I mean, I think a lot of things that I'm wrong all the time, so it remains to be seen and it remains to be proven, but you ride Mike Smith through the regular season, then you reverse the order and you ride Mikko Koskinen with some Mike Smith sprinkled in the playoffs. Yeah, you're going to get somewhere. No problems about it, I think, if the Oilers play the way they are in front of goalie Mike Smith as of right now. So that's, again, a thing you got to look for tonight is for them to continue what they've done in the past 5 periods of hockey against Vancouver. That's the key tonight. But the other key here is, right, we're on this 11-2-0 run where we're all sitting here, man, these Oilers, they got to fall back to earth. They got to really stink it up because I'm not used to them actually winning hockey games. I can't accept that they're winning hockey games. They're not allowed to win hockey games because the narrative has to remain that they're wasting Connor McDavid. Well, my friends, enter tonight's matchup. We already talked about Auston Matthews, right? Auston Matthews out for the Leafs. That's a big loss to their lineup. No, right? Yeah, definitely. So you're losing Auston Matthews. The Oilers riding hot. The Leafs coming into town. It's a battle for first place in a 3-game series if the Oilers can sweep them all. Right? Like, you're getting where this is going, right? There's a little bit on the line, and there's a chance to take game 1 because they're missing their big guy. They're starting a backup goaltender in Jack Campbell. Yeah, right? There is a big-time opportunity here. And, oh, you're kidding me if we're not used to watching the Oilers in big-time opportunity moments just absolutely choke it away like the Canucks did 2 games ago against the Oilers. We're used to that. That's how the Oilers operate. That's the way it gets done around here. Well, that's why I'm saying it's another big test tonight on what we've been proven wrong about so far through 13 games, right? The Oilers have shown and proven that they're that capable team that we thought they could be if they put the pieces together correctly. So far, whether it be injuries, goaltending, lack of depth, lack of star talent, whatever, they've come through and put up wins this season, right? The second most wins in the NHL. Doesn't matter that you started 3-6-0. Everybody's going to have some ugly parts of their schedule. I'm not kidding anyone there, right? We're not, whatever. But 11-2-0 in your last 13 games, coming into what's historically a trap game for the Oilers. Is this one of those games where, right, you go in expecting, well, similar to that game against Vancouver the other night where we went down 3-0 in the first period, and right before the broadcast started, I said, this is a loss, man. I am not feeling a win here, and the Oilers just go down 3-0 and win 4-3. Okay, whatever. The things happen, and I guess you get proven wrong more often than not with this team. But, right, now you're looking at it the other way tonight. This is a should win, but this is a historic will lose for the Oilers. So is it actually going to be a should win that the Oilers win? That's what remains to be seen tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I think perhaps my best pregame of the season, if I don't say so myself, hopefully that gets you amped up. The live stream goes live at 4:50 this evening. We'll have the pregame. We'll have something new and fancy that I've been working on the past week for you to spruce up the live stream a little bit. And then we'll get going with the play-by-play 5:08 sharp here on Dolynny TV. I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. Thanks you so much for tuning in. I can't even finish off my final sentences. That's why I'm on YouTube, not on TV, but that's okay. We'll catch you a little bit later on this evening.